Yes, please.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to today's sessions on protections of women's and children's rights in COVID-19 crisis. We are talking about the response from the South Asian countries. I'm Devendra Prasad Adhikari, South Asia. Uh, Now it's okay.
Devendra, yours is interrupted, Devendra. Again,
Okay, now it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, due to the technical problems, I'm going to repeat on that. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session on protections of women's and children's rights in COVID-19 crisis. We are talking about responses from South Asian countries. I'm Devendra Prasad Adhikari, South Asia Program Manager from Asia, from Forum Asia. Currently, I'm speaking from Kathmandu, Nepal. This is the second sessions of webinar series on the state of human rights in the time of COVID-19 pandemic in South Asia. This program is jointly organized.
Hello.
Still Devendra is interrupted.
Now, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult due to the weathers in Kathmandu. Due to the weathers in Kathmandu, it's a little bit difficult.
Yes.
The webinar is being live streamed from Forum Asia and SHAPE Facebook account. Having said this, I would like to introduce today's speakers. Today's speaker. Firstly, I would like to introduce Bandana Rana. Currently, she is Vice Chair of United Nations Shira Committee and local and focal points, women in conflict prevention, conflict and post-conflict situation. She is also chair of global networks of women peace builders and a coordinating members of the Asia Pacific Women's Alliance for Peace and Security, as well as UN Women Global Civil Society Advisory Group and the Advisory Group for Women, Peace and Security. She has 3 decades
Because it is very
at global level.
Devendra, yeah.
Global level, he is one of the founder and currently the strategic director of SAFI, a pioneer working NGOs working in violence against women and girls in Nepal. She has long experience in the media sector and she founded Forum of Women in Media is called Sancharika Samooha in Nepal. She has a sound knowledge on United Nations Security Council 1325 and 1820 and has developed National Action Plan on UNHCR 1325 and 1820. I would like to introduce Rokia Kabir. Currently, she is a member, secretary, and executive director at Bangladesh Nari Pragatishyan. She has more than 30 years of professional experience in the fields of women and women rights in Bangladesh. She founded the Bangladesh Nari Pragatishyan, a women's organization working to change the life of women in vulnerable areas. The organization was established in 1986. She participated in the liberation war of Bangladesh while she was in Dhaka University in 1970. She is one of the most famous women's activists of the country. She is advocating at the national level for policy and legal reform and at the community level to mobilize grassroots people. In recognition of her work, she was nominated as one of the 1,000 Women for Peace for 2005 Nobel Peace Prize. Early, I would like to introduce Pradeep Moore. Currently, he is a Deputy Director, Dalit Foundation, India. He is a prominent social activist and human rights defender in India. He had more than 20 years professional experience in the fields of human rights activism. He promotes Dalit women to make them self-reliant and to fight violence against women and girls. He has direct involvement in policy advocacy at the national level and involves in campaigning to eradicate practice of untouchability in the rural area of India. He fought against the issues of atrocities to Dalit, tribals, and women in India. He is affiliated to Asian Women Rights Defender Forum and involved in the establishment of South Asian Human Rights Mechanism in South Asia. It is our great opportunity to hear, Pradeep, the grassroots level experience that are faced by the Dalit women and girls during the COVID-19 pandemic in India. This much for our, the three panelists introduction, that very brief. Having these brief introductions of the speakers, I would like to invite Sharmila Karki for welcome remarks. She is a SAPIC core committee members and members of Women's Rights Campaign Group.
Sharmila ji, you unmute your mic, Sharmila ji.
Okay. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, your turn.
Thank you very much, Devendra ji. Good afternoon to all the friends from across the South Asia, especially SAPI and Forum Asia, Rokia Appa, Bandana ji, Pradeep ji, and all other friends of SAPI advisors, members, and the Forum Asia, and all friends, those who are joining this webinar. I would like to warm greetings from SAPI as well as my oneself. And Devendra ji has already started about the webinar, and then they introduced already the topics as well as the speakers also. But also, I would like to highlight some points here along with the welcome to you all. First of all, I would like to say the today is a very the pandemic situation we all are facing across the globe, and we have lost already 350,000 life already. So it's very kind of the panic situation in all over the world. We have missed all our dearest, nearest loved one, and big condolence to all of them. So in this regards, in this lockdown or this kind of situation, SAPI and Forum Asia, they have started the series of webinar meeting. The first series already gone. It was about the human rights. Though it is also the human rights, but especially the talking about the protection of women's and children's rights in this crisis of COVID-19. That is why today's speakers also are very much the renowned and long time work experiences, people like Rokia, like Bandana, those who have even working with the UN in the global situations, as well Pradeep ji also, they are with us. Hope they will give to us more kind of the inspiration and then the way forward also. One thing I would like to highlight it is that after this series of session, as I know, we have around 7 series SAPI and Forum Asia will organize. Then after, in every series, there are some of the way forward as well as the concern and issue raised. According or on the basis of these all the experience sharing as well as the way forward, we will have definitely some strategy to address the issues, how this COVID-19 affected to the especially the marginalized women, children, workers, laborers, migrant workers, and all. That's what is the main kind of the objective of this series, as I know. Having said this, I would like to raise 2-3 points about the today's the topics. Women are mostly in this lockdown. Not only this, every time we were just talking, Rokia Appa and myself. Women are already locking down. But this is more bad situation. We were just informal talking also. In this lockdown situation, mostly women are the having more and more burden, over and over burden. That we know why. the system of the work, the divided, the system of socialization, system of the working inside the home, how women are more and more kind of the busy and the working overload. That is one situation is increasing in the this the lockdowns the period. And in this period, mostly women, even they have the not good relations within themselves, within their the husband and wife. Lots of the cases are coming out because of they are almost tired working whole days. This is the situation. In some way, there are some rape cases also are being the raised also. That is always, even in earthquake we have seen lots of these kind of cases. That we all know in the difficult situations, many of the women's violence against women's things are even arises, we have seen. And mostly the women workers, women's the laborer, those who are working day to day and bring the food and make the meal to their children and the elder or senior citizens, if they are not going out for to work and it's empty pot in their home. So the main pressure is there is no food, and forget about the nutrition and all, but there is no food to have morning and evening. That is why women are being more pressurized. I'm just saying the practical things. More and more the overburden as well as the pressurized because of they have to feed to their children and the senior citizens and elders and others. That is why also they are very much in the this pressure the time. Many of them are mentally pressure also. Some of the cases in eastern part of Nepal, in Nepal, as I know, they have been even facing the mentally, and it's being very much the tend to it could come to the depressions also, because always they are thinking that the murder, I mean, sorry, the people are dead. This much numbers are dead in America, in Europe, and most of them are the family members, relatives are even living in those countries, even in South Asia and others. They cannot come to meet us. That is why also they are very much in pressure to not having them. Always they are talking through the this Zoom and all the internet. Every day they are talking, so they are very much pressurized. Even if their relatives and children are not being together, mentally they are very much pressure. So I said already some of the depression case also handling by some of our organizations. Not only this, the women's they don't have the most exposure this kind of this kind of the emergence or this kind of the virus and all. Even these kind of the COVID-19, this is the coronavirus case, most of us are very much unknown when it is going to finished, when the vaccine will come. These kind of the many things are making us very much in problem, or not very clear way when we can come very the safe and secure stage in the road, when we go to the work, when we go to our friends and family to meet each other. That is very much unsecure. And in this situation also, women have very limited knowledge, and they are much more kind of the unknown, and they are pressurized themselves what's going on, how to do. That is another issue the women are facing the mostly. And having said some practical issues, I would like to only raise two issues. Most of the speakers will give us very thoughtful the points later on. The overall the economy, overall the tomorrow's the problem after the post COVID, the mostly the when the problem will come about the hunger situation. Again, the mostly the negative affected have to the bear by the women, marginalized and children. It is come to the education, is come to the other direct health. So that is why the COVID-19 crisis will be more affected women and children negatively, all marginalized also. I think our speakers also will talk in this periphery in this the topic. So we'll learn more and we'll come to the some of the concrete the way forward, or concrete some issues. Those issues will they help us in the how to the address those the issues to women and children sector in even in the post the COVID. That's how I think the we will talk today, as I know. So having said this, I would like to highly again the welcome to you all those who are joining the conference. I can see most of the audience, those who are joining to us, are basically working in the human rights sectors or women and children rights sectors. Most of them are welcome, especially Rokia Appa, Bandana ji, and Pradeep ji. Once again, I will like to warmly welcome to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharmila ji, for welcome remarks and these comprehensive pictures of South Asia that faced by women and children during this, the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you again. And I would like to invite Netra Timalsina, SAPE Regional Coordinator, for remarks and moderation. Netra, over to you.
Thank you, Devendra ji. Thank you, Sharmila ji, for your welcome remarks. I will start now with the panelist, and then I start with the statement made by a writer, Helen Lewis. She wrote that recently in 19 March in the Atlantic Wave portal. She writes, "Pandemic affects men and women differently." That is what we exactly trying to discuss today. And then the coronavirus is disaster for feminism. And then with this statement, particularly for those with caring responsibility on infectious disease outbreak, it is very disastrous. It is very disastrous for them. A number, as a friend said, that a number of issues already are in there, and then in your deliberation you will come with that. We have three major guiding questions for this session. The first one is that what challenges and risks at the South Asia facing the women and children in terms of their exercising their rights, and also in terms of violence against them. This is the major one question, a kind of the stock taking in South Asia, or we can pull from the globally as well. And then second guiding questions is that what the South Asian countries are taking what measures the South Asian government are taking in terms of addressing these issues, violence, all the inequalities between the different groups. This is the one. Second question, and third one is what will be the role of the social movement and civil society and the critical group at this critical juncture of time. These are the tentative guidelines. Okay, you don't need to answer all, but these are the guiding questions that we want to answer somehow to deliberate today. And the modality is like that. Every speaker will take 8 to 10 minutes in first round, and then there will be question and Q&A session, and then participants, they will come up with their questions, their queries, and their intervention. Each participant will have 2 to 3 minutes, and then at the end, the speaker will have again 5 minutes each to make some kind of the response, the ideas that come up from the attendees. So we will take roughly 1.5 hours. So with this, I now would like to start with Bandana Rana. As Bandana is already introduced by Devendra ji. So Bandana ji, now the floor is yours. And welcome.
Thank you very much. A warm greetings to everyone. Namaste. I think it's good afternoon throughout South Asia. So good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. And I hope you are safe and sound. First of all, I would like to, it's a very critical and challenging time. And I think we are doing the best in the worst kind of unprepared pandemic that has come before us. And in this critical time, I would first like to thank SAPE and Forum Asia for organizing this very critical webinar and for inviting me to share my views. Netraji, you have said that this is COVID-19 is the worst disaster for feminism. Perhaps I will elaborate a bit on those points. And Sharmila, thank you for your warm welcome. And you have already touched a bit on what are the kinds of that has children. Perhaps elaborate a bit those points and all ways. And also, in terms of, I feel that in this time, this very challenging and critical time, you will know that numerous reports. I'm quite certain that we have said disaster for feminism. Let me start with a bit of optimistic view. The energy, the zest, the enthusiasm, the strength, the passion of human rights activists to come up and meetings in a way much more than what we did before the COVID pandemic. So I feel that we are humans that have so much passion that we kind of adapt to the situation. And I'm so open with the numerous statistics that have come up in such a short span of time on the impact of COVID-19 on different aspects of life for women and children. And you have said that I want to base my training on the impact on and challenges and risks on women and children that they face in South Asia. And then what the strategy do in some recommendations. And then the third is what the strategy. So that is three questions. And starting off by saying that all of us need to work what is required. And again, you have seen that us inequalities that existed before the pandemic, usually during a pandemic, is exacerbated, is accelerated. So we can imagine that these inequalities during COVID-19 has accelerated. And until we address these inequalities, all the response and planning and programming COVID-19 will be a worse situation than we were in before. But if we use this strategically and use this opportunity to create strategies that additional gender lens, perhaps we will be able to retain the achievements we have made and maybe chart out new and innovative strategies and ways to take this forward even in a more stronger way. So, that is I can see. Back to the guiding questions and the impact on women, because I don't have much time to quickly run it. First of all, let's say gender-based violence. And numerous human reports that have come up within this 2 months' time. The Secretary's report to the UN Women's Policy Brief, to the High Commissioner's report, to the CEO who also has come up with note on COVID-19. So all of these, all these reports, of course, the increasing domestic violence and then during the lockdown period of COVID-19. We face very confined.
Your sound is breaking. It is in
maybe I should put off my video because though I would very much like to see everyone, I'm going to put off my video and request quite a number of people to do that.
That's good. That's good.
So what I feel, okay, can you hear me now clearly?
Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
All right. Because I feel maybe it's the weather. I don't know why today my internet is showing your low band is low, your connection is unstable. So I'm a bit worried about that. But let me just run through the implications on women and children. As I said, first and foremost, gender-based violence. If you look at the statistics before the pandemic, the Asia-Pacific region has out of all the violence that women face, 37% of the violence is domestic violence. So even if you look at that statistics before the pandemic, you can imagine that 37% confined with a perpetrator now in a very limited space, with mobility restrictions, without and day in and day out. So that alone can help, help us fathom the kind of violence that they may be facing. So I'm not just saying that we imagine it, but the kind of increasing violence, domestic violence issues that are coming up are just the tip of the iceberg. We have, I know in many countries you have emergency helplines, established by the government with civil society organizations, counselors remoting in a council in a remote way. But if you look at the helpline statistics in most of the countries in South Asia, the numbers have increased. Some have doubled it also. When I talked to the National Women Commission here, they said it has increased, but they were not sure about the statistics. But I still say that the number that is coming up is just the tip of the iceberg, because in many cases, particularly in South Asia, in rural areas, women do not even have control over their own telephones. Particularly when they are confined within a home with a perpetrator, they may not be able to speak up on their phone. In other times, they may be able to share it with friends, just run out of the house. We cannot do that now. So whatever the number and statistics is coming up with domestic violence, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and we can count on it that after the lockdown is over, there will be a real spike on domestic violence. That's one. The other is when in those survivors who are able to report come out of the violence situation where they go. Look at the shelters. Most of the shelters in South Asia are run by either partnership with the government or by civil society organizations. They are not fully resourced, the infrastructure is very low, and then they are unprepared for this pandemic. Most of the shelters are not taking the victims now because of the fear of transmitting corona and the fear of transmitting the fear to their only living residents who are in the shelters. So I think, I must say, in my own personal experience, I was affiliated with staff also from a human rights perspective. Though there has been a lot of stigma, trauma among the living residents when the newcomers come in, and we have also made emergency.
Ma'am, again the sound is breaking.
Oh my God, that's
now.
All right.
Okay. Now it's okay.
Maybe I should come closer to it. Okay, it's so unfortunate. So I'm coming to the point that maybe I should be quick. Shelters are inadequate.
It is very clear. Now it is very clear.
Okay.
Now, yes, please.
Okay. So shelters are inadequate. Governments should be making alternative shelter quarantine procedures for women who are reporting violence. The number of reports that come to the police, they do say there is an increase, but that again is a tip of the iceberg. The police are unprepared for this kind of pandemic. Even when victims come, most of the police stations say that, there is a lockdown, maybe we'll look into this after the lockdown. So you try to reconcile with the family members. So we can imagine the spike in the domestic violence. This is one area. The other area is there is an increasing number of suicide taking place. Though suicide is not just women, there are men also, but the number of women is much higher than the number of men. And again, these are cases that are only coming out in the forefront. That's the other area. There's one other area we haven't examined very intricately is the social media violence. If you look at all the jokes, the connotations, the stories that are shared that are targeted on women, on degrading the women, that's the feminism that you are talking about, disaster in feminism. So that's another online social violence. Sexual violence has increased. You can imagine being confined with a perpetrator who is making all sorts of demands 24/7, to a victim. So the kind of sexual violence, there are cases that have been reported where a brother raped a sister, a father raped a daughter. So these are the kinds of sexual violence that are emerging in this lockdown period. This is the trafficking in Nepal. It has been done, under the guise of either an ambulance or these are reports that we have heard. This is one area. Now let me go to health. So, we can just imagine, gender-based violence, domestic violence is increasing. Now let's go to health. 70% of the frontline health workers are women. And they also need psychosocial counseling. They are burdened with household chores. They need necessary, protective measures, protective equipments, which is not happening. And they are mostly normally low paid. So this is another area that needs into be looked into. The other area is access to health services. If you look at Nepal's, I just read in the Nepal Times report that the maternal mortality rate just in March has increased by 200% compared to last year. And the first corona victim that died here was also a woman who had just delivered a child. So the additional nutritious and other medical care that they require is not happening. In fact, there are so many. There was another media report which says that during this period, the number of pregnant women who have come up for medical services is 50% less than what it was in last year. So where did they disappear? Either they don't have access to medical services, or they do not have income to go there. They do not have ambulance services. And also most health workers are overloaded with work to respond to the coronavirus. In fact, most hospitals have been assigned to be corona hospitals. So the other medical services that were being rendered in these hospitals have now been moved to smaller health posts, which do not have the capacity to treat other medical problems. So the corona is one thing, but there are chances of other health services, health pandemics and health issues coming up. I'm sorry about my. Can you hear me now, Kerry?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, the other is, let me come to another very, very important point, socioeconomic aspect. We know that most women, particularly from South Asia, they have, whether you call it Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or Nepal. I'm trying to cool my throat. So if you look at the migrant cases, most migrant women, either their contract has been stopped, either they have been sent back to their countries, or they have been to more. And in most cases, rely a lot on keeping the families.
Still breaking. Can you close? Can you come to the close to your mic? Still breaking.
Okay.
Okay, it's okay now.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I was talking about the issue of migrant women workers, because Pakistan or Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, there are so many women migrant workers. The remittance that they provide in the upkeep of the families is huge in South Asia. And in most cases, they do house domestic work. So their contracts has been curtailed. Either they have been sent back, or they have not been paid. And this is going to have a very grave impact on the families' upkeep that they were looking into. So this is the migration issue is going to be a big problem. And then, of course, most women, the number of women most women are either engaged in low wage, informal sectors, or they are household workers. And this is where they will not have social security, health insurance. So this is another area that's going to be impacted from a feminist perspective also. And then we have information. Now, there are certain initiatives being taken by South Asian governments, from awareness raising, as I said, helplines. I have heard many messages through the radios, through telephones, but we will have to look into how are these messages being taken by women. If they are targeted to women, are they being reached to the women? That's another area. When we talk about here, I'm so sorry that I have been basing my presentation on the numerous UN reports I have read, but there are no authentic statistics that are really coming out. And I think it is the government, the states, who need to take responsibility to strengthen the data collection from a gender lens, the impact of COVID, and how to make a strategy based on gender analysis. So that is, I think, is completely missing. It is not over there. The other area, because this is an area that I work in also, the women, peace and security area. With the enactment of national emergency powers and the military checkpoints and closed borders, restriction to movements and speeches, as we know, this is like a conflict situation, and the conflict situation disproportionately affects more on women. So this is another area that's going to be exacerbated because of the COVID-19. So I just give you a very brief picture about the different areas how women and children are going to be affected. I still haven't touched education. I still haven't touched the gender digital divide. We are doing Zooming. We have to now rely on internet. How many women in rural areas, women living in poverty, have access to these? Can girls be educated through Zooms? Can girls, what kind of access do they have? And then also the unpaid care work. The girls in rural areas have more burden of work now than in previous times. Will they, even when the school opens, will they be able to go back to schools? That's another area where the education is going to be impacted. So this is just a brief snapshot of the different areas that women and girls in South Asia particularly will be impacted due to the COVID pandemic. And now coming to what the governments needs to do. One, I have already said that they need to develop a very quick white paper, strategy paper based on a gender analysis, a grounded gender analysis from a gender lens. I think that is extremely important. The other is the data collection and institutional strengthening. There are so many organizations that are supposed to be providing services, but they are at this moment overburdened and overwhelmed with the work that they are doing, that they are not able to provide the needed services to women and children. So how do you strengthen these women and children's services? We have heard several state leaders talk on to talk on COVID-19 and its impact and the efforts done by states. But I have hardly heard the state leader talk about the gendered impact of COVID-19 and then to look at this as a very, what you call this, essential services, putting the services targeted to women and children as essential services. I have not heard this clearly. Maybe I didn't hear it, but maybe it is there. But I haven't heard it from the state reports, state programs that has come up. So I think these are some of the challenges that the government has to look into. And Forum Asia and SAPE and other similar networks and organizations that work throughout South Asia need to strengthen and spike up advocacy from a feminist point of view, from a gendered lens, and collectively work to see that women's participation, women's experience, women's voices are at the center of all COVID-19 responses, planning, and programming. So I think the key is working collectively. I'll stop here and then I'll be happy to respond to any questions later in the second round. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandanaji. Thank you. It is a very comprehensive one, and then we will come again the second round later on. Thank you very much indeed. Now I would like to request Rokia Kabir she is from Bangladesh, Dhaka. She is already introduced by Devendra, so I would like to request Vandana to Rokia to present her deliberation. Rokia, you unmute your mic.
Oh, you muted. Okay.
Yeah. I am looking at from here.
Thank you. Thanks to SAPE and Forum Asia, Devendraji and Netraji, and other those who are Praman and other those who are involved in the organizing this webinar. And thanks Shurmilaji and Vandanaji for in their deliberation. They have covered a lot of issues, particularly from the gender perspective. And we know that there are always the marginalized group, whether it is on the basis of gender or in the basis of wealth or in the basis of ethnicity or religion. The marginalized group always, or poverty, always suffered from the brunt of any kind of crisis, whether it is man-made crisis or natural crisis. So this unprecedented, crisis created by COVID-19, which is affecting very strongly the women globally. We can hear it from the UN boss UN Women Boss, all and other feminist groups and women rights activists globally. And media is reporting also. But what we are seeing in the crowded, information and reporting, only the violence against women are getting reported, but not the analysis how gender is impacting this impact of COVID crisis. One thing, I'll not repeat what Bandana has gone and what Sharmila has already pointed out. One thing, what we are getting report that in Bangladesh, particularly from the grassroots level, since we work with the grassroots women, that pregnancy, a number of pregnant women are increasing, and they are facing a problem. As such women from the disadvantaged group, they face a problem to receive any kind of health support. But during the time of this COVID crisis, pregnant women are not getting health services from hospital because of one is crisis, another one crisis is the physical crisis, and another is the stigma related to those who are affected by the corona, or those who are in service in the frontline services to provide support to the corona affected people. So that stigma hindered the accessibility of women, whether it is a pregnant women or any other health issues. They are not. Another issue is usually women from the those who are working in the grassroots level, or as a migrant worker, and or in any as a worker, they most of the time they save something for their any for their crisis to. But what happened in this crisis, and which is lingering, and we don't know how long it will be lingered, they have already consumed their savings, and this is another crisis. And in absence of microcredit in the field level, now because it is also hindered by the COVID-19, they are turning to traditional money lenders with high interest rate. And also they are becoming victim of trafficking in the name of migration, searching for work. And what we are seeing in the street and roads in the city area, that many women with a relatively better dress, and those who used to work in different household or different industries, they are not getting any salary or any benefit. Now they started begging on the street. So that is also increasing. And another trend, women particularly, they are used to staying at home, and they stay home mostly, but they are getting infected mostly by the male member of the family. And that is creating a crisis for a household, and also women are to take care of the children, and also male members in addition to the elderly people. And load of personal services to men has increased, because they are staying at home, and they are repeatedly asking for snacks, asking for teas, asking for this service, asking for that service. So that also creating a crisis, and stress on both men and women, mental stress are creating, and due to domination, male domination and supremacy, women are in the as a victim. They are in the receiving end of any kind of violence due to mental stress and other things. So these are some of the grassroots level, things. And in the national and regional and local government level, what we are seeing in the power corridors or in these institutions, state institution or any other, community institution or professional association, number of women is very limited and their voices are not heard. But in this time of crisis, these institution and professional groups and other community, other institution, community institution, the policy and priority consideration of women perspective or gender perspective are mostly absent because lack or very little presence of voices of women. On the other hand, drug abuse also, drug abuse has been increased, and in the policy level, the absence of public health, adequate public health system, absence of dignity and quality of life for the majority of the population, those who are marginalized, that also has been that situation also deteriorating, and the response in this crisis, policy formulation, strategy formulation, or in delivery of services, there also we see the blindness towards women's need. So these are some of the major. So it is we have to look into it and think about it and give more emphasis on how to influence the policy formulation and service delivery so that women's needs are addressed properly. This because since in South Asia, most women are living, as we have already discussed this thing, living a life in a lifelong lockdown. So it is, it is evident and it is, expected that their issues always during the normal time, their issues are overlooked or bypassed. So during this crisis, their issues and necessity will be bypassed. So in this time, it is very important that we as a civil society organization or human rights activist, women rights activist, we give proper attention, an effective strategy. We can share these things in the country level, national level, and regional level, and we can channelize those things. People like Bandana and other networks, global networks, to the UN bodies and other international and regional bodies, so that when they prepare any action plan or any strategy or resource allocation, then they can take care of these needs of the 50% of the population, particularly in the South Asia and other part of the world where poverty is widespread. And And also from this learning, from this experience, we need to, you know, intensify our activities for, you know, universal social security, health insurance, and universal, you know, pension system, so that during this kind of crisis, people can have some opportunity to face this kind of crisis. And another thing we have to take care that what we are getting information and different you know, reports and other things, that this COVID is going to stay a longer period of time than what we guessed at the beginning, particularly February, up till February, March, what we had expected that it will for 3-4 months, but it is not going to happen. And when there will be some preventive medicine or those vaccination and other medicine, we in the global level, we have to work very seriously through different networks we have, so that marginalized population and particularly women have access to those you know, preventive medicine and access. And about the income generating activities, because what we are getting report that in the families, women, in most of the families, women are getting less food because they are serving as a practice. They are serving children and men more. But it is important that, as we know so far, that improved and increased, you know, immune system is very important to save our life. And women are as such have less immunity because of shortage of food traditionally. So in this crisis also, women are suffering doubly. So that also we have to, during the time of messaging, we need to have prepare messages in a way and communicate those messages in a way so that majority of women can have access to those messages and information, and they understand it. This is, and also what we are seeing in Bangladesh, that girls' child's dropout rate is increasing, and child marriage is in increase because of the crisis, economic crisis, and other crises too. Severity of the situation, women are facing different kind of violence and harassment, particularly young women, as already Vandana you know, spoke that you know, girls are raped, being raped by father, and also sexual violence on wife and you know, partners are also increased. So these are the some issues we have to. And in Bangladesh, what reports are coming with quick survey, that from 20% of poverty rate, now it has increased during the COVID to 46 to 50%, up to 50% of poverty rate. And with the migrant worker coming back and other, you know, deficit in, you know, remittance due to loss of work of the migrant worker, these are creating some crisis. And I think Vandana have already mentioned.
Can you conclude in 2 minutes, and so that again we come
okay.
back?
Okay. What she said about the article resolution 1325 of Security Council, and where women's involvement in any planning and strategy development is very important in any kind of crisis and violent situation. So also we have to look into the opportunity of that article 3025, and the national action plan has been developed in Bangladesh also, and also in other South Asian countries, as Vandana have mentioned. We have to look into that also, and we can take advantage of that policy also. Thank you very much for patience hearing.
Thank you, Rokia. Thank you for your comprehensive presentation. We'll come back again in the second round. Now I go to the Pradeep Moore. He is from Rajasthan, working, as introduced by Devendra, is working on Dalit rights and children rights. Pradeep, can you please unmute your mic and then speak?
Hello.
Okay, yes, please.
Yes. Is it audible? Are you able to hear
Yeah,
me?
audible. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon, you all. First of all, I thank Forum Asia for giving me this opportunity to speak here. I had participated 21 days human rights training in Bangkok in 2005, organized by Forum Asia. So it's great. I'm grateful for Forum Asia that invited me for this webinar today. Yeah. So today we are talking about the issue of pandemic and how it has been impacted the women and children, right? So pandemic, we are saying that now it's the coronavirus. It's spreading everywhere and it's a pandemic, and we need to take care of ourselves. Straight away I will talk about the violence against women. It is undeclared pandemic in the world, especially in South Asia. Coronavirus has been declared as a pandemic, but undeclared pandemic is like violence against women. From thousands of years, the women are suffering from this disease or the pandemic. we, you know Actually, UN should intervene in this, that how we can take all these violence against women or the cases against women as a pandemic, or to declare or to announce as a pandemic. Especially in South Asia, the role of caste, patriarchy, and the religion is the most influential part in the daily life of the people here in South Asia. Therefore, the caste plays a vital role, degrading the women and the most people from these Dalit communities, and dealing with them as animals, and the same kind of treatment now the women are facing in this lockdown. Same with the children's. Now we are talking about the social distancing. For us, it's very sad part, because social distancing, from thousands and thousands of years, Dalits and women are suffering from this social distancing. We are saying that why not we can call it as a physical distancing. We should approach, the distance by having some kind of physical measures like that. So therefore, the women's, the children's, and Dalits in the South Asia, from the social distancing part of view, are marginalized. They are suffering from thousands of years. So we are saying that physical distancing is must. In this part, while we are talking about violence against women, we in the Dalit Foundation in India works with the issue of manual scavengers. And in that, women who do all this sanitation work, they are the most marginalized and no one is there to speak for them. In this pandemic, they are the real heroes actually, but no one is talking about them. doctors, nurses, police, of course, they are fighting at the front line. But what about the women sanitation workers? They don't have any kind of PPTs. They don't have safety equipments. But still, at the front line, they are speaking every day. And with them, children are also involved. So the sanitation workers, they also go along with their children to do all these kind of jobs. So while we are talking about these women's, we also need to focus on the women sanitation workers also. With this pandemic, of course, there is rising cases of violence against Dalits, women and children. And these are the cases which are reported. What about the unreported cases? No one is able to document that. We in the Dalit Foundation, we are trying to document all those cases from all the 19 states of India. With this, it's not the case only about the India, but whole South Asia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, even in Bangladesh, so many unreported cases, and it's very heinous crimes, not only the abuse, not only small fightings or something, but very heinous crimes happened. And it's like 1/3 of cases from last 60 days of this lockdown in India happened. So it's very dangerous situation now for the women and children's, While talking about violence against women, I will share some of the cases. Like, Vandana ji also spoke and Rokeya ji also spoke about the situation in different parts of the countries. Here in India, women, they have been quarantined in institutional quarantine and they have been raped. In so many states, this happened. Dalit women's, while they have been quarantined in the centers, they have been discriminated. They have been kept differently. They have not allowed to enter in the kitchens. They have asked to sit separately. Same with the men's. With these, there are very heinous crimes happened against the women. From all the states, we have cases, and we don't know how to do with that. And the manpower with these kind of things, it's very limited now. So for this, we have to work hard actually. So there are cases of rapes, mass beatings, migrant women laborers. In India, it was just 4 hours before the 21 days lockdown was announced by the Prime Minister. The people who are not having any kind of space to live in the big cities, how we can talk about them. And it's not the question of only India, but Nepal, Bangladesh, in many big cities in Pakistan also, many migrant laborers, they have suffered a lot. With that, the women's, because they have to take care of everything. The men's, of course, they are in their patriarchal view. They just throw everything on the women and they just ask them to carry everything. Carry everything in the sense, everything from the looking after the house, for food, for the children's, everything. And while migrant women was pregnant, she just delivered while walking from the road. After giving birth of the child, after 1 hour, she again walked for 20 kilometers. So very horrible cases we have. In terms of health of the women, the government of India, they announce from the Jan Dhan bank account, they announce rupees 500 will be given for each woman. Same with the public distribution systems. Also, they increase widow pensions. But for this, during this lockdown, they have to stand almost for 6 hours, more than 6 hours at one point to open the banks and to take their turns. The kind of situations they suffered, it's horrible. Again, with this, the human rights institutions, while they are responding, I think they have gone self-quarantine. we we don't have to criticize them. They have their roles to play, but they have quarantined themselves now because they are not speaking up. Hardly 1 or 2 cases, but what about those cases which are reported in drastically numbers? Also, the systematic network of exploitation, the political negligence is very important while we are talking about the violence against women, because the caste system and the patriarchy, you know, that speaks more about the networking in mass exploitation of the women's. Same with the children's. Again, with this, the unequal economic structure makes them the victims. And again, now for the child rights, recently UNICEF released one report on South Asia. It has said that almost 4.5 million children may die in next 6 months due to not having any kind of immunizations during this lockdown. And this pandemic has created another pandemic for the children. You know, without having a necessary immunization or necessary medical equipment, children may die in 6 months. You know, it's the number is like 4.5 millions. You know, so it's dangerous for us. Same with the women, pregnant women. You know, the kind of food they should eat, it was not available during this lockdown period. And this pandemic will lead 13 million child marriages over next decade. You know, these numbers are, it's not just the numbers. For us, it's making us more worried that how we can proceed with this kind of issues, arised after this lockdown. Child sexual abuse, you know, number of cases, like children's, they have called through for telephone lines. We have this toll-free number in India, organized by Childline, that's the organization. They got almost 92,000 of telephone calls in just 11 days of the first lockdown period. So we can just imagine how these kind of cases are arising. And these are the children who had access of these kind of facilities, like calling these people. But what about those children who are not having any kind of accessibility to speak with others? Because in four wall of their house, there are abusers, and every seconds they are getting some kind of accusations. They are getting beatings, thrown out of the house, and also the one kind of issue that at least in the schools they were able to engage themselves in the studies with these friends, with these teachers. But now in the one house, their education is halt. Schools have been closed. In during the migrations, they have many of the children, they have died, and there is no clear guidelines for that. you know and number of child marriages happened in every states of India, and that is the same situation we have in Bangladesh. We also have in Pakistan, and some cases in Sri Lanka also. So it's it's worried for all of us. I will talk about the solutions for short term for the women rights. Uh, First, for the legal interventions, the cases whatever we have, have understood the cases, we need to have some kind of fast track courts to deliver some kind of judgments for those cases. Again, in India, the judiciary is now, they are mum, they are keeping mum, and they are not speaking against anything. So their attitude is totally different now. So we are not expecting much things from the judiciary, but at least we can push some interventions through fast track courts. We also expecting to organize, health camps for free treatments for these women. you know Not only the victims of violence, but also for the health concern, we need to have health camps for them. That is for short term period. Also, we need to have some innovative programs for the self employment of the women. We already have very good example of Dalit Shakti Kendra in Gujarat, where almost 10,000 women we have been trained for their self employment, and now they are earning quite well. 80% of them are very good for their earnings. So just 2 months of training, but tremendous results. So this is one kind of example we have from Dalit Shakti Kendra. We need to also have speak for their security. The women who have been harassed, they are victims of all kinds of violences. They need to have some kind of security out of their house. So why not we can talk about the temporary shelters, also for the free health checkups, again for preventing all these kind of violences. The collective actions from the organizations like us, we can initiate something with this, counseling centers, temporary shelters for them, approaching them, speaking to them. So we have this model in the Dalit Foundation, like 50% of fellowship we support to the women's. So we don't compromise with this actually. So no matter if we have more women's, no problem, but we for adjusting the numbers, 50% of the participation we need to have from the women's part. So with this kind of coalitions, we can see that number of women organizations to participate in this. Also, we can, approach Women Rights Commission to take suo motu actions for these cases. For long term, we can talk about the youth volunteers. We need to have volunteers from all the villages, and the Dalit Foundation is training a very good number of volunteers, one women and one men. For 2 months, we give them leadership trainings, legal trainings, human rights, and also the vocational trainings. So after going back to home, they just focus on these issues like the untouchability practices, violence against women, and the education part. So this is one of the model that we talk. So we need to have volunteers from all the villages and permanent medical camps for the women. So where women, exclusively for women, there will be hospitals, doctors, and women can feel more freely while talking about their health concerns and the violences. Also, the role of Women's Commission, we need to improve their roles. We need to sensitize the members because now they are totally quiet.
Pradeep, can you move bit fast so that you finish all the your slides in time? Bit
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we need to do advocacy for the higher budget allocations because less than 3% the budget allocation is there for the women's rights or for the health, and it's not only in India but whole South Asia. Also, we need to have free counseling centers and awareness programs. That is for long term, and permanent work in rural areas. This is also to stop the migration of the women because women suffer the most if they get the work in their own villages or nearby areas. That is the great thing for the to stop the migration. Formation of legal firms or free legal aid education for the women. Representation at assemblies and parliament, that is for 50% we are saying, and proper research on remedies by coalition of the organizations. For children's, for short term, of course, like UNICEF has warned us, so we need to have immediate free immunization program for the children, free treatment through mobile clinics, immediate support to migrated children because they are in the shock now because they have been quarantined everywhere. So for them, all kinds of support needs to be there. Legal action against culprits of violations, free midday meal service at home for the children especially. Again, for collective actions by the organizations, I am emphasizing this because organizations, civil society organizations can play a very good role in this. Child rights commissions for their roles. We need to push all these demands to child rights commissions and improve their roles in this to take suo motu actions against all the cases, reaching them and counseling to the children. For longer term, human rights education needs to be there from the primary level. From first standard itself, if children understood their rights, I think these violations will be stopped or numbers will be reduced. Community libraries for the children. In the Dalit Foundation, we have almost 800 libraries for exclusively for the children in 13 states of India. That is exclusively informing them, giving them knowledge in terms of society for their understanding of the social issues and legal remedies. So that model is working tremendously well and having very good results. Also, as I said earlier, child rights commissions role needs to be actively promoted. Action-oriented researches, we need to promote action-oriented research on the situation of child rights during lockdown, that is concerning about health, violations, and the education. Follow-up of legal interventions of the cases, advocacy alliances for proper budgetary allocations for child development, and also the coalitions from the organizations, to hold the government accountable for all these. Yes. Yeah, I think I will stop here now. Maybe next round I will speak more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pradeep.
Yes.
It's wonderful to know all these the statistics and then the on what is called declare pandemic. Okay,
Yes.
that is the very important connotations that you brought.
Yes.
Okay, into the discourse. It is a very important insight. Thank
Yeah.
you. And then now now I open the discussion, and then let us have 10-15 minutes discussion, and then we go for the wrap up. So for the discussion, I would like to request to participant to make a concrete and concise intervention. And there is one hand raised, Vivo 907. Can you please announce yourself, your name, and then speak what you want to talk about? Vivo? No? Anyone else in the forum, in the who are participating and listening? Anyone you want to make some intervention? Questions? In the chat box, let me until they come. In the chat box, there are few questions that the one question is there could be it is a concern. There could be a boom of childbirth and unwanted pregnancy due to unavailability of the family planning devices, all the contraceptives. No, this is the one that concerns the participant wanted to bring. And then in the chat box, there are a number of issues that the presentations are good, and then all these, and then what measures we can take to curb the situation, because situation is alarming. It applies to all these panelists. And there are many more. I would like to give now the Umaji. Please unmute yourself and then, yes, please.
Yeah, namaste. म उमाशा साथीबाट मेरो क्वेसन चाहिँ तपाई अघि I have already written it in my question blog. I just wanted to share that there could be an unwanted pregnancy or a lot of birth boom in the next year due to the unavailability of the contraceptive planning and all that. So this has not been addressed in any of the presentation. So it would be very good that if this is also involved in the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. And any more questions? Any more participant you want to raise hand? Yes, please. Yes, please. Trishna Acharya ji, please.
Hello, excuse me. Namaste, everybody. I'm Trishna Acharya. Actually, I want to ask a question to all the speakers. Thank you for your beautiful presentation. Actually, I was a little bit concerned about the postpartum care to the women during this lockdown period. Is there any means that we can coordinate with the local authorities and give them a special care, or collect some data about the women who have given childbirth but are deprived from the postpartum care? That is one concern. And another one is that can this forum coordinate with the local authorities to maintain a social justice situation? Because a lot of violence are happening against the women, but most of the period, I myself have witnessed one of the incident recently, that one of the women who has given birth recently has been beaten by the local authorities, saying that she was creating chaos and so and so. And like even her baby was crying for hours, and that was like taken as an issue which has disturbed the local people. So in this period, a lot of things are going on. How we can like coordinate with the local authorities and make them aware that this is the social justice situation, and most of the time it is the kind of a discrimination against women who are already victimizing the victims. So this question is for all the speakers, and how they can coordinate with the state mechanisms to maintain this sort of scenario. What would be the solutions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trishnaji. There is another hand raised by Saeed Baluch. I think he is from Karachi. Saeed, unmute yourself. We are not listening. Saeed, you unmute. You haven't unmuted. Okay, didn't happen. Then you keep trying. Later on, I will come. And Renu Tuladarji, please. Unmute yourself, please. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Renu Tuladar here from Kathmandu. A very warm good afternoon to all the presenters. My only question here is, since we have been here in this pandemic for a long time and everyone is in this painful situation, all the time we women and children are facing a lot of problems, but at this moment we have some sort of emotional problem which we cannot share to anyone. So can here anyone just share what are the major essential tips at this moment each and every woman and children should just now apply so that we can be physically, mentally, emotionally fit and fine? This is my one question to all our presenter. If anyone can help us, because few of the things are not measurable in our life. And this is what I think is happening to a lot of women and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Renuji. Saeed, you are ready now?
Unmute. Okay.
Please.
Yes. First of all, very thank you for this wonderful session. There's very too much information we're getting. What about there's I cannot get any clue about the pornography, our region, because the day before yesterday, one of child pornography brother got bail from a lower court in Lahore. So we need to. That's also my question. There's any common law bring to the subcontinent or SAARC countries, or there's any particular survey or study conducted about the child pornography in this region? Second is there's a lot of laws of harassment, women's safety at the workplaces, but still every fourth woman in Pakistan harassed by sexually, by mentally, by touching some everything, but every fourth women are harassed. So there's a lot of laws, but issue is implementation. So overall societies, even they don't understand the women issues, children issues, not even this pandemic time, but I think it's getting worse. So harassment, violence is increasing because many people are very poor. They most living the one room accommodation, and there's a majority people losing their jobs. There's no many people are their daily earner, daily wager, they are out of job. So that's why the violence in home in poor areas increasing. But in rural Sindh or Punjab areas, there's a lot of women killing in the name of honors. They call it honor killing. In our local language, they call siakari, karokari. So there's the issue. So the SARC level or human bodies should take it seriously because they are killing women in name of religion, name of their surrounding, name of their honor. So, but still, I'm thankful all of presentation. Sharma Kakri, Paradeep, others, Rukaiya. Thank for good acknowledgement and share their views to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Said. Now the Pukar Maharaji. I think we are towards the end. So this is the only hand raised, the last hand, and then Pukarji, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. I'm Pukar Mahara from Nepal. So my question is that, as the Pradeep sir said, the data that 4.5 million children are going to be die during these 6 months, which is a very scary data. So I would like to hear from Pradeep sir, what could be the measures, because among these many children will be from the marginalized community. So what could be the measures or the role of civil societies to control this upcoming pandemic? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Now the Umme Roji, please. This is the last hand I saw. Okay, please unmute yourself and then. Didn't happen? Okay, good. Your voice didn't come. Then can I just, I would like to see the question and answer box, Q&A box. There are a number of questions. The one is the Uma ji already said that she has put some questions, no? The question is to Bandana ji. How could we manage support the border issue from women perspective, because many migrants are coming from India in this situation, because they are facing many problems at the border level. Okay, this is the one question. And then also, what about the Roji ji wanted to ask, what about the COVID-19 situation in Dalit community in India? Basudha Gurungji, she has written that, thank you for your sharing. A question is to speakers is whether you have observed, seen practices of responses by government or other groups, yes, so that have worked well to address some of the GBP issue, gender-based violence issue, cases in lockdown, COVID-19 period, and maybe can be replicated by other CSO groups. Would appreciate to listen as examples, okay, how that has worked, what she's talking about. And then what is the, some other friends in chat box, they are asking what is the government response in this difficult time. So these are the some questions in chat box, and then question answer box. Sharmila ji, you wanted to have the 1 minute intervention, then I go.
Yeah. Of course.
1 minute, and then I go to the panelists.
Thank you very much, Netraji. Thank you very much to all three speakers. Very, very thoughtful presentation. I have 2-3 points. One is immune systems, which raised by Rokia ji concerning women. This immunization system or boost up immune systems, we need to be more the strengthen this system. If some more the tips by Rokia and all would be good. And next one is all the speakers said inside the institution or home, women are very much the kind of burden and sexual abuse, violence. And we have talked very less about the men engagement. I think the speakers will make it more clear how we will engage with the man, whatever, what kind of program we have to engage with them. That is one concern. And my last one is the speakers, I haven't heard very much, is how to engage with the policymakers, especially the parliamentarian, women parliamentarian, how we will make them accountable to be hold these the situations immediately, because the budget and all are coming. So my 3 points I would like to is an input or my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmilaji. Okay, then there is one last question that it belongs to Nepal. How does Nepal manage better COVID-19? Maybe if Bandanaji talk about this, better in comparing, she's comparing, maybe Umeroji, she's asking, she's comparing the South Asia because of the number of cases that she's looking for. That's why it seems to be a better management. Anyway, then now I come back to the panelists, not exceeding around 5 minutes each. So I start from, I would like to request Bandanaji.
Thank you very much for the presentations from Rokeya and Pradeep ji. Glaring statistics. It makes you very scared, I must say, but it was a very good presentation. And of course, there are many questions which we are all grappling to find solutions and answers to. And I think this is a time where the whole world is unprepared for this pandemic. And from the most developed country to developing countries to underdeveloped countries, we are all in the same platform, seeking answers for the questions that we have. So, but what I would like to say is the key is collective work again, strengthen advocacy for policies that requires gendered lens in all the policies and strategies we take ahead. I know there are a number of questions. We talked about unwanted pregnancies increasing. Of course, when we talk about women's inability to access all kinds of health services, this is definitely going to take up a spike. And of course, the other issues was about post-mortem issues. I think in my presentation, I touched a bit about the access to sexual and reproductive health rights and the issue about how in Nepal itself, in the month of March, there's been an increase of 200% in maternal mortality rates. What do? We ask the government, we continue to raise voice that all these issues, all the strategies are grounded on gender lens, are grounded on gender data. This is what we need to continue to do, I think. Some essential tips, I think there was someone who said, what is an essential tip? All of us, we should be alert, we should continue to raise our voice. If you are a victim, you should report. If there is a violence in the house, you should report to the right channels. You should have access to psychosocial counselors. You should have access to emergency helplines. Be vigilant and keep your eyes and ears open. That is what a personal tip that I can say. But in addition to keeping yourself safe from COVID-19 as well. Pornography, I think I leave it to Pradeep ji to answer that. But I did say that there is an increase in sexual violence within the family. And that is, of course, one of the aspects is access to pornography during this time as well. The other issues about the engaging, I agree with you wholly, Sarmila ji, that we need to engage men and boys more and more on issues related to the impact on girls and women due to COVID. But I think that is because forums like Forum Asia and SAP-E, I think they are the right platforms where you have a real gender balanced representation that can take these voices forward. And I would also like to reiterate that CEDAW has come up with a guidance note It has a 9-point. I can share it in my email with SAPI, and they can share it with you. It has a 9-point, and I think women parliamentarians can look at this guidance note, because it is particularly to deal with the discrimination that women face during COVID and during lockdowns, and this will be a very good guidance to state parties when they prepare their strategies. And in my ending, I would say we would have to imagine a world post-COVID built on principles of human rights and gender equality. Let us work collectively towards that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vandana ji. Thank you very much. Your very comprehensive response. Rukia ji, now your turn to have some response. On mute, please. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Thanks for the question and sharing of other two panelists. And what we have discussed, it is nothing new. It is related to either white supremacy, male supremacy, and religious supremacy of our constitution in South Asia, particularly what we are seeing for last decades. And which is reinforcing the discrimination against women and women's subjugated position in the family, in the society, in all the state institutions. So it is overnight, we cannot change. It will need time and we have to, whatever time to time strategy and action we take, we have to keep in mind, in the background of our strategy and everything, we have to keep in mind that we have to dismantle this supremacy syndromes, which is reinforcing the discriminatory norms, behavior, practice, and mindset. This is one. And what already Vandana mentioned about, and Sharmila ji mentioned, then engaging men, because men are, taking advantage of this discriminatory situation, and they are the privileged, section of the people. So they have to come up because they are controlling all resources, all position, and all decision making. So they have to come up. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. And on the other hand, we have to have some, at the very beginning, SAPE was addressing the issue of global capital and, and addressing those issues. How state powers are dominated by the global capital, even in different parts of the world. Those issues have to be simultaneously tackled, and of course we have to decentralize all the services, power structure, and other things, so that during that time of crisis we can reach the people, those who are really in need of those services and support. That we have to take care in the long run. And as we will share our good practices, how to tackle the situation during the time of COVID, and so that we can immediately take some action to ease the situation. And for long term, we have to work together jointly. That is what I have to say. And thanks those who have already made some question, and they themselves know very well due to their work experience. And but since we were given some space to articulate all the experiences, knowledges of all participants, we tried to places in front of everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rokia. Thank you very much. I would like to request Pradeep to respond. Okay. Yeah. Yes,
Yes,
please.
yes, yeah. I have two questions here, like regarding UNICEF's reports that 4.5 million of children, it's a warning report for all of us. So for civil society organizations, we have to force the government to have immediate immunization programs for all those children. Also for free food, the nutrition food for all of them, the newborn children's, it's very difficult time for them to get all the supplement foods, also for the mothers of those children. So for us, we need to force the government to have mobile clinics. Every villages, the clinics will be opened where children will be checked, also the mothers, all supplementary tablets, everything will be given. So through medical camps, health camps, having proper immunization programs, I think civil society can play a vital role in this. And that's how we say that we have to have at least 2 volunteers in every village, where all these volunteers will identify all these children to whom actually these supports needed. Again, regarding Dalit situation in India, there is one question that how in COVID-19 they are suffering. The untouchability practices are there, the discrimination based on caste with the patients, also those people who are quarantined, institutional quarantined or either in the home quarantine. There are instances where the food prepared by the Dalit women or the men that have been denied by the patients because they are from Dalits. So there are so many cases now, in India. So Dalits are suffering, and all these migrant laborers who are getting infected, majority of them are from Dalit communities or the marginalized communities. So it's now it's the question for all the Dalits. It's very, the situation will be difficult for them, having nothing in their own hands. There is no money for food, and getting infected. It's really difficult. The other question was regarding engagement of the men. There are good examples that we are having here that men and women can do best for to preventing violence against women and also the child abuses. So civil society, along with the government machineries, can play a very good role. Also, the rights commissions, the human rights institutions, they have a very good role to play, but they are mum. So we need to activate them. That is also a good role civil societies can play. Finally, I can say the quote of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who is the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. He had said, I can measure the development of the society only based on the empowerment of the women. So it is very important for us when women are empowered, ultimately the country is going to empower. Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep, for your wonderful response. And then I will take a couple of minutes to just not to summarize, but what I take from this webinar, this session is that the second session is that the pandemic, it is all the you three, including Sharmila and Devendra, Weber and other friends spoke about. The main key message was that the pandemic magnifies all existing inequalities, that inequalities be in any dimension, that is gender, race, class, caste, whatever. So this is the one danger that we will be facing in coming days, even the post-COVID. More the existing inequalities will be more magnified because of this COVID. What do you call, Pradeep? Unreported pandemic. Okay.
Undeclared.
Undeclared, yes, undeclared, yes.
Yeah.
It is the outcome. This is the outcome, is
Yeah.
the undeclared pandemic. No?
Right.
So this is the one message that we can take from this. And then also particularly across the world, women's independence will be a silent victim of this pandemic, particularly women in the lead, and then also the people who are in margin, okay,
Yes.
including
Yes.
children. Okay, that will be their independence, their rights will be a silent victim, because silent victim, it is very so victimized, it is almost somehow customized in the society. As Bandana just spoke about how serious the situation is, the domestic violence, and everywhere there is the violent society, as it seems that violent society, and there is no any accountability structures and institutions that are functioning at this moment. No police, no court, no society, no neighbor. So this is the very much the victimized society is going to get more victimized. And then it seems that there is the one narratives about this pandemic globally. That narratives comes from the particularly those from the government or from the people in power, that the corona does not what is called distinguished any, it doesn't have any border or any class, any caste, etc. Wherever it will get, okay, it will infect. That's not true. It has a border, because most of the poor countries, the developing countries, they are most victimized, and this has a class and gender bias, because of the middle class and then the rich, billionaire, millionaires, they are not much victimized. They have their own what is called ICU in their home, etc. They have their own vehicles to move. They don't need to go to. They don't need any social or physical distancing, etc. But the people who are victimized, so this has also class bias. So a social movement and civil society and critical groups will have a very important role to play to fight against this whole what is called inhumane or violations of the rights, and then dignity, for the dignity and the livelihood, all kind of the rights that we want to be a dignified human human. Okay, so this seminar, the SAPE and then Forum Asia is just trying to organize all these series to have our people to people solidarity. Okay, to extend our people to people solidarity, to make to strengthen our networks, our bond, our psychological, what is called our emotional attachment. Because nation states, you see, nation states are fighting in different names. They will not, they don't have the priorities of these victimized people. Okay, poor, Dalit, children, women. So let us build our strong bond in South Asia and across the globe. And then let us be together. Thank you very much, Bandanaji, and then Rukia and Pradeep, and then those who spoke, they who make interventions. Very thank you, and then who listens, attended, and then you put your what is called your impression in the chat box, question box. Thank you very much. And then those who didn't what is called speak, and then only listens. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Have a nice time. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you. I just did the video on, so I want to say hello and bye bye. Thank you. Bye bye.